Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. My team and I help other people step into their authentic realities, and we do this a number of different ways. Through this show, we also have a Facebook group of like minded people committed to spiritual growth and transformation, and you can find us at liveauthentically.today/FB. I also have my first book out there, SOAR, SOAR, and it shows how I partnered with the universe to create my new reality. So we have a great show planned for you guys today. We have Reis Paluso. Hey, Reis, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. Super excited about our convo today. Reis is a CEO and co-founder of Our Breath Collective, and he's going to talk to us all about breath work today. So, but before we launch into all the amazing work he's doing in the world, I would love to have him answer this question that I start my show off with every time. And that is, how do you live authentically every day?
That's a great question, Pamela. Thank you for asking. Really for me, the start of my day is an important part of the day, and really what I like to do is wake up, and I've got a little check-in that I do, which really gives me an indicator for how my day is likely going to go. And that involves a little bit of a breath sort of check in. And then I've got an aura ring, which I love looking at in the morning, which gives me some data.
Mhm.
But by checking in with myself and then with my breath, I can generally know where I'm at when I look at the aura ring. It's more of like a validation. And then from there, I that sort of gives me a bit of a guide as to what I need as far as doing any sort of practices. So, breathwork practice in the morning. I have an ice bath that I like to use. If I'm not an ice bath, a cold shower. And really that sets me up because I find that if I do these sort of quote unquote stressful things for myself, little short hits of stress, then it kind of creates a little bit more space for myself. And
Mhm.
then really from there, it's just about continuing to explore and progress on all the things that I'm doing, from being a husband, a father, and also a business owner. And so really just continuing to uncover different areas of my life that I can sort of continue to level up on. For me, that's where I get kind of the most, I don't know, excitement and being able to really just continue on this journey of being a human through life, and knowing that it has its bumps and bruises, but trying to find myself in the flow of continuing to do what I love. And I feel really blessed and honored that I get to do something that I really love. I get to share these things that have totally transformed my life, and that people are receiving that, and it's just a beautiful thing. So
Yeah, such a beautiful answer. Thank you. So I'm anxious to dive into breath work and hear all about how you incorporate that and into your business model, et cetera. But first, my question for you around that is, who is breath work for?
mm, great question. Breath work is for everyone. You think about our breath. It's the first thing we do when we come into this world. It's the last thing we do when we leave our bodies. And we actually take about 600 million to a billion breaths in our lifetime.
Wow.
So thinking about that, it's like we have this breath bank, and most people are moving through their life where they're totally unconscious of their breath.
Mhm.
It's just happening reflexively, right? It's just
Yeah.
always continuously happening. It's part of our autonomic nervous system. And so I would say a lot of people, most people don't really even notice their breath during the day. And that's where the power comes in. By practicing anything, we become more aware, right? Not only aware of our breath happening throughout the day, we become more aware of our bodies, we become more aware of our emotions and everything in between. So um, the fact that everyone's breathing means that everyone can do this, and we're seeing, positive benefits from really everyone, whether it's a high performing CEO to a professional athlete to a mom, a dad, kids. The impact is really clear that there's no one or the other. It's works for everyone. So that's that's my answer. If you're breathing, this is for you.
I love that. I love that. So, what are the benefits of breath work?
Well, I would say the key is it's the remote control to our nervous system, and there's physiological benefits on really all the systems, circulatory system, immune system. Really it kind of hits them all, but really what I focus on is how do we use the breath to regulate our nervous system. So we look at breathing as a behavior, and every behavior that we have, there's a breathing pattern or a type of breath that's connected to it. So, you think about when you get home at night and, you're ready to chill out and relax on the couch, what do? Big sigh of relief. Or, you're super focused on doing something and someone sneaks up behind you. What do? So there's a breath behavior for really everything that we're doing. When we're under stress, there's a certain way that we're breathing. When we're, in an intimate space and we're feeling super connected, there's a way that we're breathing. And so really looking at how do we use that to then be able to vacillate, to then be able to self-direct where we're trying to go or what we're trying to do. So, it has this bidirectional aspect. So every behavior, there's a breath, and every breath, there's a behavior. So if we understand the simple mechanics of how that works, then we're empowered to really be able to change our state in real time. So I think that for me is like the biggest impact. But there's so many benefits. It really touches on everything, mental, physical, emotional. But I really like to bring into the awareness for people of, as you start practicing this more and more, what happens when we practice something, we build awareness, and that's the key to it all. Once you become aware, then then there's an opportunity to change your breath, to change your state, to be able to move a little bit more fluidly through life. Because let's face it, there's a lot of challenges, stress, things that are happening. We're just going so fast that we just kind of lose touch with what's here, and our bodies know a lot more than we know how to tap into. So it's sort of like this awakening process of, once you start noticing your breath, then you have an opportunity to change it. And then the more you do that, then it just becomes this mechanism to be able to really steer your life in the way that you want it to, or at least to some degree, a bit more. There's no like cure all for anything, and these things take time. For me, that's I think the key benefit that I really focus on in helping people to understand is drawing this connection to their nervous system.
Love that. So what does an ideal, I'm sure there are probably different variations, but what is a breathwork regimen? What does a breathwork regimen look like?
That is a totally adaptable thing, really. You could do one breath and totally change your state. So, I mean, we can just practice. This is what we call the one breath break. And basically, this is like telling your nervous system, hey, hit the brakes. You notice some sort of arousal or something happen, and you're feeling like that energy kind of like coming through you. And this is just like so we can just practice together if you want. So You're just going to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and hold it at the top. And you're just going to hold it here for about 5 seconds. And then you're going to burst it out of your mouth with full relaxation in your body. And then pause the breath at the bottom. So you hold your breath on the exhale, waiting till you feel like this sense of air hunger. Your body will tell you, okay, I need to take a breath. And then you breathe in through your nose and you just go back to your normal breath. And you can do that 1, 2, 3 times. And that's just basically going to create space, right? It's going to hit the brakes, it's going to pause. And then from there, you can potentially make a better decision of what you're going to do, or you can bring in another breath protocol to steer you in the opposite direction that you were going. So it could be as simple as that. It could also, consist of, some breathing techniques and methods. You're breathing in a controlled, connected rhythm for up to 2 hours.
Okay.
Now, those are generally a bit more on the like therapeutic trauma healing side of things, because we're basically taking our body into a state where it sounds weird, but like our body goes into this place where it thinks it's dying, and then we release all of these things. It sounds scary, but it's actually a really beautiful thing, and can feel very cosmic, like almost psychedelic in a way. But really what I focus on is minimum effective dose, right? So what's the minimum amount that we can do to have the impact and the effect that we are looking for? So, you had mentioned Our Breath Collective, and really the basis of that is to create an opportunity for people to tap into a breathing practice every day. So we lead live breathing sessions, and they're all about 15 minutes long. So we say it's sort of like flossing your teeth, right? It's just like this maintenance every day. And then maybe you tap into something a little bit longer, an hour or an hour and a half type of breathe, once a week or once a month. And that's sort of like the reset maintenance type of thing. But it's so situational. Like we could spend 2 minutes and really draw in our focus and be able to shift tasks a little bit better. We could spend 5 minutes and do a certain pattern where everything kind of like we get this coherence where our whole body gets aligned, and we feel like this grounded centering type of thing. We could do 10 breaths and in a faster connected rhythm, and boom, we have energy, and we're like, oh, I don't need that afternoon cup of coffee kind of thing. So it's so adaptable and so dynamic that it could be really anything, and I have a weird thing with the term breath work. The word work is in it, right? And for whatever reason, there's a connotation to that. So I generally say breathing, but breath work being sort of like this term that kind of encompasses what we would call connected breathing or conscious breathing, right? Because we're actually focused on our breath, and we're the ones who are manually moving the breath. So
Right. Yeah, I love that. So tell me a little bit more about your business. I mean, I know you mentioned
yeah, thanks for asking.
What else do you have? What else?
Yeah, so really, Our Breath Collective was born out of a couple of my friends and colleagues. We were teaching workshops and doing one-on-ones with people, and retreats and that sort of thing, and kind of on our own. And the number one question that people always ask is they come and have this experience, and they're like, wow, that totally felt amazing. I want to continue to do this. What do I do? And there's a million and one YouTube videos you can watch out there, but they're just varying in what you're going to get, and there's a lot of apps and that sort of thing. But I've always found that when there's someone actually guiding me, like another person, that it sort of levels up the experience. And so we were like, well, we have all these people asking us for this, and we're already waking up and doing our own practices, so let's just broadcast it and share it. So we actually started out as a private Facebook group, and we were doing a Facebook Live every day, and then kind of the community started growing, and so now it's all through our website. But we host 15-minute breathes Monday through Fridays, there's a 6 a.m. Pacific Standard time slot
Mhm.
that is sort of our signature breathe. And then we have other times during the week. And really the whole premise of that is simply the practice. We're not getting into a lot of the why. Yeah, it's kind of interspersed in there through, the color of the cueing and the instruction, but really it's focused on like get out of your head, don't worry about that, just do the practice and feel it in your body and set yourself up for a day that you would be happy with. And then from that, people were like, okay, we're ready for the why. So we developed some courses. We've got a breathwork intensive that's a month-long course, and we look at really all the different parts of breathing, from our biomechanics, biochemistry, nervous system, physiological kind of anatomy, and then it's really designed to give someone their own assessment of their breath, and then to be able to understand a little bit more about what works for them in various situations. And
Mhm.
then from that, we had people were like, okay, I want to teach this. I'm ready. Like, I want to share this with my community. And so we've got a teacher training that we call Breath School. We run that once a year. It's 6 months long. Um, and then we've got retreats and in-person workshops and online workshops that we host. We bring in various experts in the field. Just there's so many perspectives on this, right? Like, we've got all these methods and techniques of ways that people have kind of packaged breathing in a certain way. And really we've kind of stepped back and not necessarily, we're not here to create our own method or our own technique. We call it more of a multidisciplinary human centric approach. So it's like gathering together as humans, breathing, it's the one universal thing that's all connecting us. And then using the principles of breathing, these fundamental underlying principles that really connect all the methods and techniques. If you can understand what those are, then you can see, okay, like the Wim Hof method is doing this, and rebirthing is doing this, and then it becomes like more of an intuitive breath toolkit. You know all the you know all the bits and pieces, and then you understand how that feels in your body, and then you can sort of be your own alchemist of like putting something together that you know is going to impact you, whether it's for energy or calm or focus or anything like that. So that's really our approach. And yeah, it's been awesome. And we've got a global community of literally all kinds of people. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and really just I pinch myself because it's like, wow, like this thing kind of birthed organically, and now it's to a point where we can basically live our lives doing something that really feels like we're making an impact. And it's super exciting too, because breathing is now really coming into the forefront. We always say like breath work is sort of like yoga was 15 years ago. But I
Mhm.
think the acceleration that we're going to see it at is going to be exponentially faster, because it's high impact, low effort, meaning we feel a lot almost immediately. We notice a change and we don't have to go anywhere. Like, we could do it right here. We don't need to change our clothes. We don't need to go to a gym. You could do it at your desk. You could do it in your bed. You could do it seated on the floor.
Mhm.
And there's just a lot of new science coming out. Like, there's so much focus on this because obviously we're got a lot of mental health problems that are continuing to brew, and people are looking for something, and our breath is just, it's so easy. It's right here. It's always happening. And then once we get in touch with it, it's like, whoa, okay, this is awesome. So
So
yeah.
powerful. I'm curious, do you guys do any work with youth, with kids?
A little bit. That's sort of something we're working on. We've got one of our students that graduated from our breath school teacher training last year, and he's a teacher in Florida, and he's sort of been developing a program with his students that we're hoping to like expand upon and start taking that out there. And yeah, I mean, I would say it's mostly adults, and then it's sort of like through osmosis. Like, we get pictures of and videos of like parents sitting and doing these breath practices and their kids are sitting right there with them doing it. And so that's kind of always been my approach. Like my kids, I've asked them like, hey, do you want to do some breathing? And they're like, no, but they just see it, like we got people coming to our house all the time, and they see me going and doing it. And so I pick up on little bits and pieces of where they might be doing it.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that will come over time. But I think that there are obviously who are very receptive to it and finding benefit from it. So it's definitely a goal for this year, is to really get that program out there and help the youth, because obviously they need it a lot. And I mean, so do we, but the kids are really close to the heart. I've got two young daughters, and want to create a future for them where they feel like they have a little bit more ability to deal with life as we know it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I see a huge need there too. I have four kids. Mine are 18 down to 11, so kind of a sampling from all the different age groups. But
Yeah,
I've definitely, obviously with like the mental health crisis and the pressures and the, stresses of the pandemic. And,
yeah,
I just think with social media, there's just a lot of pressure on youth today. And I think, anytime we can expose them to self-care practices, self-help, help them really bolster up their toolkit, so that they have healthy go-to mechanisms to navigate the challenges of life. Because,
yeah,
obviously stress is something that's always, it's always there. And, the more and more we're armed with, things that, we can deal with it, in a productive way, the better. So I
yeah,
see a huge, and that's the reason, I asked, is like, as listening to you talk, I was thinking like, I wonder what area he's going to expand into next. And that's why I asked the question about kids, is I think that there's a huge opportunity for you guys to reach youth all across the world, actually, and help
yeah,
incorporate breath work. And really the sky's the limit. Obviously there is no limit, right? With just meditation and just yoga poses. And I mean, I could see you guys going into schools and,
yeah.
holding like all school assemblies and stuff like that. I mean, I think that there's just such a huge opportunity there.
Yeah, I love that. That's definitely part of the vision. So just slow build and see what's working. I mean, obviously kids have a different dynamic in terms of their ability to focus and all of that, but it also makes it super playful, right? Because you can come
Mhm.
up with fun, creative ways to, create analogies and connections to things that they're into, and that will draw them in. So I like the creativity around it. And just kind of thinking about what you were saying of just all the things that are going on in our life, and really like we don't, that's why I kind of mentioned before about our nervous system, is like we don't really learn about it. We don't really have this understanding of how it works and how we can work with it, and so our nervous systems are this very primitive thing, and they're built for survival, right? It's like we've got fight or flight, our sympathetic nervous system. That's, this drive to keep us alive. And then we've got rest and digest, and so these are very primitive things. And we're living in a world of 2022 now, and our nervous systems aren't designed for that. They're ancient. And so we need to find ways to adapt and to be able to deal with all of the things that are going on, from a pandemic to, like you said, social media, to all, just even the pace of life. Like we're moving so fast, and we're always up here at, in this sympathetic drive, and we're feeling stressed and anxiety and all that, and we don't actually have tools to bring us down. We need to vacillate between the two, right? We can't stay redlining all the time. That's where we get just all the issues that we have. So I think, breathing is a great way to connect into that, and to be able to move a little bit more fluidly between, sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system. And
Mhm.
um, so, I think just re-educating ourselves really about our bodies and these systems, and then how do we relate that to our life now. Because we hear a lot about stress, and stress being a bad thing, and when it's at high doses, or or even on the opposite side, when there's not enough stress, it's not a good thing. There's this window of tolerance, so to speak, that we have of stress that we need, a hormetic stressor. So,
Right.
things like breathing, we're putting our systems under stress, like getting in an ice bath or a sauna, or even weightlifting, right? We're stressing our muscles and they break down and then they build back up. So we need that. That's part of human nature. That's part of, thinking ancestrally, even like they were eating when they could get food, and we have food at our fingertips at all times. We can just go to the fridge and boom, there it is. Same with temperature regulation. We've got clothes, we've got shelter, we've got, temperature controlled rooms. And so our bodies, we just start getting weak through not having enough stress. And then the vast amount of stress that we have is wreaking havoc on our digestion and our bodies and our minds and all of these things. So you know a little bit of stress every day is kind of what we need. And then being able to when you are in those high stress moments or super low stress, like being able to kind of regulate that a little bit more. So
Mhm.
that's I think one thing that's important for people to understand is this relationship to stress. We do need it, but not in this toxic amount that we have. We need just intermittent short little hits of it that are going to strengthen us and make us more adaptable, really.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for you, either personally or professionally? What's on the horizon?
Really at this point, I'm just focused on getting this out there to the world. That's kind of what we talk about all the time, is like just making these tools accessible to the world. And um, also really like trying to stay on the forefront of like what we're learning and what's happening. Like I said, there's a lot of science and a lot of studies and things being done, and so it's just like staying up to date on that so that we can communicate these new findings as well. We've got some great mentors. One of our mentors is a man named Dr. Jack Feldman. He's a neuroscientist out of UCLA, and he's been in the breathing kind of world for like 30 years. He actually discovered a part of our brainstem that controls the oscillations of our inhale and our exhale. It's pretty
Mhm.
fascinating stuff. We won't get into that because it's kind of nerdy science, but just being involved with people like that who are leading the charge on this on the science side, and that's one of the things I love. Like for some people, like thinking about neuroscience and some of these things is a little bit scary, but I feel like that's almost the empowering part of it, right? Like
Mhm.
we can breathe and we can feel a certain way, and like feeling is understanding. Like the more that we feel, the more that we understand ourselves and all of that. But then boom, you've got this piece of science behind it that draws this like deep connection. You can see charts and graphs and images that then it connects us back into our bodies. And like for me, I like kind of start imagining these things happening, and in my cells and in my blood and the musculature moving and all of that. And so um like I said, it can be intimidating, but it I think it's empowering as well. And we like to make it digestible too. Like, I mean, obviously you can get super in the weeds on this stuff, but what's the amount of knowledge that you need? And then, for those who want to go deeper, there's really endless depth that you could go into. But outside of that, really also looking to create just community. Obviously our name is Our Breath Collective, so a collective of people coming together on a shared really interest in breathing. And we've been putting together a bunch of retreats last year, and we've got a bunch coming together this year, and that's really where we find um, the ability to really sink this stuff in, to then where it's like, oh yeah, okay, this makes sense. I do need to have a practice of this, especially people who have no practice. It's like coming to a retreat, it's like jumping off the deep end and boom, like there you go. It sort of opens up the mind and the possibilities and also the curiosity to want to explore more. And for me, those are always the best, just connecting with people. I'm definitely a people person. I'm not not much for being home alone. I like to be around people and just connecting. So but yeah, that's really the focus, is just getting all of this out there to the world, and sharing with as many people, and connecting and having fun too.
I love that. And I love your focus, use the word empowering. I love your focus on empowerment and really helping people understand how they can play a huge role in their own healing. I think so many times people don't have that level of awareness. And again, I say this, with no judgment. It's just they don't know that they should stop to check in with themselves and ask themselves, how do I feel? What am I feeling? What sensations in my body, et cetera. And oftentimes, that boils over and people end up in the ER. How many ER visits every year are due to stress, right? And so if we realize that, if we understand that we have so much more power to heal ourselves than we're conditioned to believe, either through, incorporating intentionally, breath work, or our food choices, other health and wellness practices, we can keep stress at bay. And so, I think the issue or the challenge is to catch it in the earlier stages, right? Keep it at like that low simmer, like you said, like enough stress to kind of motivate us, but don't allow it to gain too much momentum. Don't allow it to kind of boil over, which
Yeah.
ultimately will result in a health crisis. So I think that
Yeah.
that's so important, that the work that you're doing to just empower people and help them realize that we have everything we need within us to heal. We were so conditioned to look elsewhere, right? We feel a symptom, run to the doctor, grab some meds, whatever. But if we do that work along the way, the take the preventative, proactive approach, then we can really just take the reins on our own health and wellness.
Yeah. Yeah. The toolkit's right here. We've just
Yeah,
lost access to it, right?
right.
You hear about ancient tribes and stuff, like talking to the plants. Like, I totally believe that.
Mhm.
We just have so much information, and we've got, all these technology, whatever, electromagnetic fields, and all this stuff that's basically disconnected us from really our power to be a greater force in this world, and that
Mhm.
it's all right here. And so that's what this is, just it's just bringing us back to that. Same
Mhm.
as like getting in an ice bath, right? Like,
Yeah.
people think, oh, that's terrifying, like, why would you do that? I hate the cold. But our bodies are made to be able to survive. And so if we can start to do these things and awaken these different systems and powers within us, it's like, yeah, I get in the ice bath now, and within a couple minutes I'm totally regulated, and I'm back to normal. I also have generated some brown fat in my body, so like this thermogenic ability to create my own heat. So it's just really having an open mind, and I feel like that's kind of a beautiful thing right now. We all harp on technology and social media and how that's like such a crutch and all of these things, but it's helping information get out there in a way that people are more curious, and they want to explore, and they want to take the reins back on their life. They don't, I can't speak for everyone. Obviously, a lot of people like just want to take the pill and have it be easy. And I guess that's where the term breath work comes in. It's like it does take work. It takes a commitment, and it takes, you know, just perseverance through the resistance, because it's there. I have it too. Like, I know all the benefits, and I go through my peaks and valleys of like where I'm super on it, and then I'll be off for a few days or a week or whatever, and then I feel the impact, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, my attention span is less, my irritation is elevated, my energy levels are lower. So it's like, okay, got to get back in, and then coming right back to that level, and then it starts to level up. So yeah, it's just one of those things, like, and it's just part of life, and part of being a human is that it takes a commitment, and that's really also part of a big goal of ours, is like, hey, we're here showing up, and we're gonna, as long as you're showing up, then there's the ability to have consistency with all of this, because consistency compounds, and even at little 15-minute hits of breathing practice, like it all adds up, and so yeah, I think that's just a commitment, and consistency is super important for it all.
Yep. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So awesome. You mentioned the ice bath. That is one thing I actually have not checked out yet.
We're
So
in
now
Chicago.
yeah,
Step
right.
outside.
I just
Yeah.
outside my window. I just have to go on my front
Yeah.
porch for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I want to check out at some point. I have a sauna.
Perfect.
I like my heat. I like to sweat.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I do want to check out the ice bath at one point. So there's some.
Yeah. Something I never thought I would be into, I've grown
Mhm.
up in San Diego. I lived in Hawaii. I've just
Okay.
always been in the warmth.
Yeah.
And I'm also, grew up a surfer, and I'm the guy surfing in my wetsuit in the summer. So the
Hmm.
cold was not my friend. And then really just like, okay, well, let's check this out. And next thing I knew, I was climbing a mountain in Poland in my shorts at minus 20 degrees Celsius, and feeling like more powerful and supercharged and capable than ever. And really it's like a reframe, right? It's the mindset behind it. We look at it as like a really scary thing. It's like, yeah, it is if you're approaching it that way, but it's also a tool, and it's a training stimulus. It's this deep stressor for our bodies, and it's not like we're going in forever. It's like 90 seconds to 2 minutes. You're getting all these benefits, all these hormones, and you're getting vasoconstriction, so you're really strengthening your vasculature. You're also feeling this sort of self-regulation happening. You get in, you have this peak stress experience, your whole body is saying, get me out of here, and then you override, and you're like, nope, I'm here, and you breathe with it. And then the next thing you know, everything settles, heart rate starts to drop, the tension drops out of your body, and then it's like you hit this place, this little spot where everything shifts, and you're just like, "Oh, okay, I can actually be here," and it's a beautiful thing. It's really kind of a mirror for life, right? Like we get
Right.
in, and we go through this whole cascade of emotion and sensation, and it really kind of just shows us like how we're showing up, how we're doing things. And it gives us a glimpse under that, and again, awareness. Once we can see like what our default modes are, then we have an opportunity to change that. So
Yeah.
um, and I'm sure you feel similar things in the sauna too. It's once you get to that like 20-minute mark or whatever, and things start ramping up, and you're like, okay, here we go, and it's just like staying with it and breathing through it, or whatever mechanism you have that helps you be in that stress. So
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's like that middle third that gets challenging. Like I usually try to stay in there for an hour. Now I built up to an hour. So I do that every night. But the first third is like, okay, this is tolerable. And then that second third, I just have to kind of keep pushing through, and then kind of
yeah,
focus on the last third. But
that's
yeah,
awesome. An hour is that's amazing. Do you
I
do infrared or
do.
traditional?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've read. Yeah.
nice,
Yeah, I
cool.
got that. I used to go to a spa by my house for probably like 7 years or so. And, I'm always trying to simplify, right? It's just too
Yeah,
much running around, back and forth. And I was doing it more and more, and up to a few times a week. And then it just made sense to just build it into, my
yeah,
bedroom. And it's just part of what I do. Like my kids know. And so my kids are just in much the same way that your kids are growing up, seeing you incorporate breath work. And even though they may or may not be, incorporating it right now, it's still part of, they're still, you're modeling that for them,
yeah,
right? So I model that, similar thing, when I do like the sauna, like my kids know that when I go upstairs, like it's sauna time, I shower, like I have my ritual. And unless, it's a life-threatening emergency, I will see everybody in the morning. So like they're growing up with like saying, okay, wow, mom's taking this time for herself every night. And I want them. I don't feel guilty about that anymore. I lived with mom guilt for a long time, but
yeah.
part of my journey has been like overcoming that and learning to put myself first. When I do that, everybody else in my life benefits. So
It's
they're growing
beautiful.
up, thank you. So they're growing up seeing that. And I hope that they, impart that on their kids, their family someday, that self-care is just a foundational piece of how we live.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really cool.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are about wrapped up here, but I wanted to give you a minute or two just to finish up and give you the floor and talk about anything you'd like to, whether it's again one of your programs or just some final words of wisdom for our audience.
Yeah, I mean, kind of always just encourage everyone to be curious and explore and try new things. And if they're interested in trying breath work, would love to have them join our community. They can go to ourbreathcollective.com, and we've got our monthly membership, so they can enjoy daily breathing sessions guided. We've got 18 different guides who all have a slightly different approach and different way of sharing, and that's what I love about it. If anyone wants to check that out, you can get a discount, $10 off your first month. Use the code LA. So if you actually just go to ourbreathcollective.com/LA, it'll trigger the code for you. Um, Also, our Instagram, that's kind of our main hub for free content. We post a lot of instructional videos and just education and short practices that people can tap into. And it's just Our Breath Collective on Instagram. But really, yeah, just encouraging people to get out there and try it and see how it feels for you. Um, you know, this concept of like beginner's mind, open mind, that's what we kind of try to bring into everything. It's like, what you think you already know, just kind of leave it out the door and step into anything new that you're trying with just this beginner's mind. And I find for me, when I go into an environment like that, especially where I'm learning about something that we have all these sort of preconceived notions and limiting beliefs that are like really just right there at the surface. And it's like, okay, like let's move that to the side and see what's here. Because once we actually can get through some of those things, that's where the magic happens. That's where things open up. So
Right.
yeah, anyone who wants to check us out, we'd love to welcome you into our community. We've also got some free breathes there. People can put their email in, and we've got different breathes, one for focus, calm, and energy. They're like 5 minutes long, and just like simple protocols that we like to use for those different nervous system states. So yeah, but just an honor to be here. Great to share with you, and really appreciate you and everyone else for listening. As I said, it's just like such a privilege to be able to share what I love, and to be able to get to do what I love. And hopefully that's helping people along the way. That's my goal anyway.
I love it. Amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today and for all the amazing work you're doing in the world. And
Thank
I
you.
look forward to staying in touch.
Yeah,
And
please do.
of course, so yeah, anytime you want to check out the cold weather in Chicago here, let me know, and I'll introduce you to all the, more of the cold therapy, ice and snow.
Awesome.
So, and
Cool.
all right.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. So thank you to our viewers and listeners. I so appreciate you. And I'm so happy that you were here to learn all about this amazing breath work that Ries had to share with us today. So everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye.